New on Curiosity Stream. How do you connect a 16th century potato to limitless energy production? Could Napoleon's toothpick have a direct link to a machine that predicts the future? And how can a 1700s conch shell chart a course to humans connecting their brains to the internet? James Burke's visionary series Connections returns for a new generation. Experience all new Connections. With monthly, annual, and bundled plans, find the one that works for you at curiositystream.com.
Anthem Blue Cross and Common Threads are helping schools across the country learn about healthier food preparation. And here in LA, they're joined by the Sparks and will provide education, recipes, and knowledge to students and families about healthier options. Learn more at anthem.com/ca/sparks. Anthem Blue Cross is the trade name of Blue Cross of California.
There's a guide to follow to make it true. It's the pop culture field, and you will.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Pop Culture Field Manual podcast, sitting right at that intersection of weapons, action, the military, and of all things pop culture. My name is Cameron Fath, and if you didn't know that...
Pop culture above all.
Pop culture above all. My name is Cameron Fath. If you're just joining us, welcome, and with me, as always...
Israel Wright. It's good to be back, folks. This episode today, I think, is something that's very near and dear to... Well, near and dear maybe to all our hearts, because I guess it's the current period, time period? Like, what do we call this? Is this our theme? Like the world, the geopolitical theme that our military is engaged in?
I would say so. I think this is the most recent giant conflict that the U.S. has been a part of, and not just the U.S., but almost a little bit of a chunk of the world. Yes, that is right. The GWOT, folks. This episode, we're going to be talking about all things global war on terrorism, pop culture portrayals, maybe experiences that Izzy and I had in it. It's, there is nothing off limits on this episode. We've been very excited to make this just because obviously our involvement in the GWOT and just how long it has been. What do you think, Izzy?
I mean, that's one thing that we could talk about initially for those that are not aware of what the global war on terror is, the GWOT. I actually didn't think it was still going on because, as I recall, right, did it start kind of at 9/11 or after 9/11?
9/11 was the global war on terrorism. Yep.
President Bush came on, and that was kind of like the initiation of like the idea of like the global war on terror, which is like it's like a big, broad phrase, like, but I mean, it's like, it was kind of, that's why I say like theme, like it was like it's our mindset. It's how we go about framing, how we go about conducting our business of war, like throughout the world, basically. It's kind of like the lens through which we see how we're doing things. Is that kind of an accurate, would you say?
I would say so. Just because, literally one thing that the GWOT did, which was put not only the opposite of a microscope, because that's very technical. I mean, that's very precise. Like thinking about operations in the past before the GWOT, I mean, we were going to one country specifically doing one thing. Now, when the GWOT happened, this was just like, if wherever terrorism exists, we are going to go in the night and we are going to fucking kill it. So it was kind of cool because, I mean, there was coolness to it because it was just like, okay, wherever terrorism is, it doesn't matter if it's Afghanistan, it's Iraq, in Africa, that was it. But one thing I will mention is, in the 21 years since Afghanistan has been, going on, and since we pulled out, literally it has robbed hundreds of thousands of soldiers of getting 2 CIBs. And for those of you that don't know what a CIB is the Combat Infantry Badge. It pretty much, it's the award you get, at least in the Army exclusively, that lets everyone know that you've been in combat. In a active war zone. So dudes would get, I think the last CIB eligibility was the Gulf War, I think in 1991. So there are very few people to this day that have 2 CIBs. from being in, and that means they've been in the military for over 20 years. I mean, since the 90s, like, because the Gulf War was 91. So yeah, you could have gone to, Afghanistan, initial invasion of Afghanistan, and then 2003 when Iraq opened up, you could have went to Iraq, but everyone was like, I should get 2 CIBs for this because it's 2 different countries. Nope, sucker. You are part of one fight. You are part of the global war on terrorism. It was super interesting. So, like, I mean, now the GWOT's over. So,
is it officially over? Like, was there like an announcement, or do you think because we pulled out of Afghanistan?
I think just because we pulled out of Afghanistan. I think if we were to go to war as a unified country, meaning just like, not contractors going forth to, like, example, like Ukraine right now. Like, if we were to get involved in the Ukraine situation, I think that would be a brand new war. That would be like, yeah, you would get another CIB if you already had one. That's my opinion, but I don't think to be honest, I think the global war on terrorism is kind of is ceasing to exist here. So unless the U.S. gets involved in some other shit, then I think it'll be a completely different war. But that's just my opinion.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I think special operations never really stops.
No, it doesn't.
We just don't talk about it, So I know that we're still in Iraq. We're still doing stuff in Iraq. I don't think that we're in Ukraine necessarily. I think if we're doing anything, maybe we're doing advisory stuff, maybe in Poland or whatever. But, but yeah, that's interesting because like the global war on terror, it's not. Everybody points to World War II, and we know where it happened and when it started and where it ended. Yeah. And as with all our other wars, but the global war, it's like you're saying that it's over, but it's I don't know. Maybe it will never end. I think we need like an official announcement. Somebody needs to make
the global war on terrorism is over. And where am I? Where am I again?
Yeah.
Who are you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Yeah. Come on, man.
Yeah. Now. Somebody was one of our questions. Do you think it's a winnable war, like the war on drugs, or just seemed like an uphill climb with no end?
I don't think it's a winnable war. I think it's a time occupying war. I think terrorism, you'll never cease to exist, just like the war on drugs. Like the war on drugs will never be over because supply and demand. Hey, try to sell me this pen. Okay.
Yeah.
Sell me this pen. All right. Hey, write your name on that piece of paper. Well, I don't have a pen. Okay, boom. Here's a pen. Supply and demand. There will always be a demand for narcotics, so I don't think like the war on drugs will ever be over. Just like the war on terrorism, because there's always going to be bad people. There's this whole idea, of this, unified world where everybody gets along and nobody wants bad shit and everybody's very selfless. But it's literally looking through the world through rose-colored sunglasses. I mean, it's never going to happen, in my opinion. There's always going to be someone that fucks it up for everybody because they're selfish or whatnot, or have their own, manifesto or personal desires, or have an idealism that they can't shake. So I don't think the war on terrorism will technically ever be over. It'll just be somewhere new, fighting someone different.
Yeah, and I wonder... what the benefits and drawbacks are of defining, kind of having this overarching theme because of like the global war on terror, because you need like a focus. You need to have your resources pointed in a direction. And I fear stagnation. Stagnation is death, especially for the military. That's not to say like, I'm not saying like we got to be involved in like, in a war actively every time, all the time, because nobody really wants that. But it is kind of an inevitable thing, and especially when you talk about terrorism. Boy, we're getting like real political. When you talk about terrorism, like you say, it's always going to be going on, and I fear the rise of things like that when countries become complacent. Yes. So if it's true what you say, and the GWOT is over with. Where are we going to point our focus? Because I just don't like the idea of stagnation.
No, it's definitely a huge concern because we look at our military today, and we're coming off of a major conflict that's lasted 20 years, and I guess I could say with confidence that we are a full garrison type military. We're in peacetime. And you look at the development of future soldiers now, and when I went through basic training, every drill sergeant had combat experience. Every drill sergeant had a deployment. Every drill sergeant has done the fighting that I was with, especially in infantry OSIT, right? But nowadays, drill sergeants and a lot of leadership that are being given new soldiers and are expected to turn civilians into warfighters don't have that experience for themselves. So I feel like it's almost doing these soldiers an injustice in a way, because at the end of the day, what is the military? It is a war fighting machine. That is its primary intention, is to fight the nation's wars, right? And secondary is national emergency, but then you have National Guards for that. So it's kind of crazy to think that nowadays the people preparing future soldiers for conflict haven't experienced it themselves. So it's are we really getting the full package of what we need in a country warfighter? So yeah, that's just what stagnation is to me. But anyways, and also what's really bad about the war being over is no more movies about it. I mean, you can't.
Well, I think we're still gonna get. I think we're still gonna get movies.
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, look at World War II. I mean, they have milked World War II. It's been over for 70 years now.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's but it's the kind of stories that are gonna come out about it that makes me a little worried because, Hollywood they've come out with some pretty good ones, but generally speaking, any chance to kind of put down the U.S. military, they're going to take it. And I'm afraid that Afghanistan is going to turn into kind of like a Vietnam style, kind of like we're going to come out with all these stories about, how it wasn't worth it and how it was a waste of time and all this kind of cynicism. And we're not going to get a lot of stories about maybe the camaraderie or the brotherhood or maybe even about pulling out. I wouldn't even mind a movie or two about how we pulled out and what a disaster it was.
Yeah, no, that would be an excellent movie. I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, everything happened during that evacuation for sure. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about the nitty gritty, the pop culture versions of the GWOT. So, Izzy, without further ado, which one you want to talk about first? I know we got a pretty big list here.
We got a healthy list because it's been you could say it was about 21 years, right?
Yeah.
2001 to 2022.
Yeah.
Just about 20 years worth of pop culture, and we've got a lot of good examples.
Yeah.
Or I guess maybe good and bad examples, or strong and weak examples. Let's talk about Team America first.
Yeah, the OG of all the movies, right? Team America, World Police, a huge comedy movie that is still could not be remade today without hurting a lot of feelings.
And those guys, I mean, those guys, I would say, like Trey Parker and Matt Stone, there's a little bit of commentary in there, but then they also kind of make fun of everybody.
Everybody, no one's
playing all sides.
No one's off limits on that in that movie. But I think it's so entertaining, and it's above all, it is so funny in a super ironic way because we're totally like America is the world police. We've always been. Oh, someone's in danger? Hold on, we're America. We'll come save you and then give you democracy because that's what you need in your life, And it's so funny. But
then they also, they make fun of Hollywood.
Oh, yeah.
Too. The pretentiousness of Hollywood.
Yeah. And then Matt Damon.
And Kim, I guess it would be Kim Jong-il at the time. Or was it Kim Jong-un? No, it was Kim Jong-il at the time.
Yeah. Kim Jong-un is the big boy we got now.
Yeah. My favorite is that you can tell that they're pretty smart or pretty savvy because they have the whole, I can't say it, but the a-holes and keyword speech. We
got pussies and dicks. And sometimes the dicks are assholes.
Yeah, sometimes
one of the greatest monologues in all of cinema history.
Just kind of laying it all out on the table. About they kind of hit everybody, left and right at the same time.
No one's safe. But I think it's that's an ironic comedy, just because it was only 3 years after, Afghanistan started, and it came out in 2004, so it was a year after the Iraq invasion. But yeah, it's just one of those classic comedies that, back in a generation that wasn't so easily offended really appreciated it. Because I watched this movie recently with my fiance, and she was like, "Are you serious?" She's like, "There's no way you could make this movie ever again." And I'm like, "Yeah," and that's why it deserves the recognition that it has. Team America, if you haven't seen it, it's puppets, first of all.
Yeah, it's puppets. It's Trey
It's all
Parker and Matt
puppets.
Stone who are responsible for South Park. So if you like that kind of humor, then you'll like Team America. Yeah, and it's not puppets, it's marionettes.
Oh,
like,
I'm sorry, it's marionettes.
Difference. Yes.
Yeah, and they're all on strings, and just the combat sequences are hilarious because they're just like wrapping their strings together, and just everybody's just like moving their arms drastically, like back and forth. But yeah, and then there's this one puppet lovemaking scene, which is ridiculous.
And
it is one of the
fully
worst.
Nude, but they're not anatomically correct. So they're showing them doing the things like bumping together, and it's ridiculous.
It is absolutely. Your jaw will be on the floor. But yeah, Team America. I'm glad you started it off with that one, because it's a lighthearted look at everything. But I mean, it's just one of those classic comedies that I hope goes nowhere. So if you haven't seen it, check it out. If you have seen it, it's definitely part of your childhood for sure. But yeah, next one that I want to talk about is one that I recently rewatched, and I think I'm debating whether it's a good movie just because there's obviously like military cliches in it, but cliches are true to an extent because obviously it's the same. I think cliches are the same thing as stereotypes. Like there's a reason they exist is because they're pretty much true. But The Hurt Locker. Hurt Locker that came out in 2008 about the Army EOD guys in Iraq.
Jeremy Renner, yeah.
Yeah, Jeremy Renner. He plays a former Army Ranger, like a bat dude, which is super interesting because we don't have EOD in bats. So those are like the things, those are like the small snippets that I like kind of saw, and I was just like, what? Did he like reclass or something? Like we have engineers in Ranger Regiment, but we don't have like actual EOD MOS soldiers. So that was super interesting. But basically, Jeremy Renner's character takes a squad leader, either a squad leader or a platoon sergeant position because the previous squad leader of this EOD squad was
Guy Pearce.
Yeah, he was killed in action, basically trying to defuse a bomb, a roadside bomb. So he takes his spot, and his team leader, which is Sergeant, what's his name? Brother from another mother. Let's see here. Hurt Locker. Gassed.
Anthem Blue Cross and Common Threads are helping schools across the country learn about healthier food preparation. And here in LA, they're joined by the Sparks and will provide education, recipes, and knowledge to students and families about healthier options. Learn more at anthem.com/ca/sparks. Anthem Blue Cross is the trade name of Blue Cross of California.
Check out great deals throughout the store at Safeway. This week at Safeway, get mega packs of USDA Choice boneless beef chuck roast for $3.97 per pound with digital coupon, limit 2 packages. Plus, Hass avocados are 10 for $10 member price. And get Fuji apples for just 77 cents per pound with digital coupon. Also this week at Safeway, get selected varieties of Lucerne milk gallons for the member price of $3.99 each when you buy 2. Visit Safeway.com or head into your local store for more deals.
Oh, Anthony Mackie. Yeah, he played
Anthony Mackie.
They
both ended up in the MCU. That's so
yeah,
funny.
they both ended up in the MCU. Anthony Mackie plays Sergeant J.T. Sanborn, who's, he's a by-the-book guy. He obviously, and then you have Brian Garrity, who plays Specialist Owen. What's his full name? Let's see, guys. Eldridge.
Owen
Eldridge. Yeah, he plays Owen Eldridge, which is obviously like the original cast was, Brian Garrity, Anthony Mackie, and then the squad leader. Who'd you say it was? Guy Pearce? Yeah, and Guy Pearce.
Guy Pearce is the guy who dies in the beginning. Yeah,
and they obviously, they became, family. Because that's what typically happens on deployment. That's why you always see a bond between soldiers almost greater than family. Just because, struggle is the greatest bond builder, in my opinion. So they obviously are in Iraq, and they lose their squad leader, which is a huge thing. And Eldridge is going through depression and whatnot, and Sergeant Sanborn's like obviously super by the book because he doesn't want this stuff to happen again, because he's like, this isn't the first guy I don't think that they've lost. So let's see, I just lost my page and my train of thought.
Well, let me tell you what I like about this movie. It was the first time in cinema that I remember noticing how well they wrote the camaraderie between the soldiers.
Sure.
Talking about like the brotherhood and the bond, and I appreciated the dialogue and the relationships that the characters had with one another. And and ever since then, I look for that in war movies.
They did an excellent job.
The writing is really well, and I think did it win Best Picture that year, or she won? I think she won Best Director, because there was like a fun controversy.
What, Catherine Bigelow?
Catherine Bigelow, her and I think James Cameron, because they used to be together. They used to be a team, but so.
Yeah, no, I think it's bad in the part that like the military side, like the details they get wrong, they get a lot of things wrong, like in the military side. For example, when they come across the British contractors and like they get ambushed by like a sniper, and they have like a 50 cal just laying around, like the Barrett 50 cal sniper system, and then the guy that's trying to take it, like their counter sniper who's on the 50, gets like shot. And then they just like Jeremy Renner's character and then Anthony Mackie. So they get on the gun and they don't even like move positions. They just like move the guy's body over to the side and like get on the gun, and just like not knowing, like, first of all, the 50 cal and precision weapon systems are like a very finite skill. Like you can't just be Joe Schmo and hop on that shit and like know how to use it. So like he gets on the gun and they just like start sitting there for hours, and it's just, there's so many inaccuracies. Like if this you gotta move, like if you're on a sniper system, like you, especially if it just like if that dude just got hit right there, like the other sniper, that means he's like zeroed in on that location, and his windage and his elevation, he knows his dope for that thing, and you don't. Like, you don't even know where the rounds are coming from. So, like, he just shoots the gun and, like, doesn't even do any corrections or whatnot. It's just, like, it's super impractical, in my opinion. I looked at it, and I was just like, yeah, this would never, ever happen. Plus, the guy's, like, carrying 50 cal magazines on his person, and, like, nobody does that. He's just like, get the 50 cal magazine off his body. And he's just like, first of all, they don't make pouches that big. Like, not back then, but that's just like a small inaccuracy in it. But I think, like you said, the camaraderie is really good. Jeremy Renner's character is like full blown Ranger Danger. Like, he does not give a shit about his personal safety, and it
there's a little bit about. I think there's a little bit of commentary about that kind of adrenaline junkie attitude maybe for his character, because he ends up going back at the end. He goes and he's like hanging out in the supermarket, and his wife's talking to him, and he's just like bored, or whatever, or dead inside, and then the last shot is him going back out into the fight. There's a lot of dudes like that. It's just like normal life isn't normal anymore. Normal life becomes being in harm's way 100% of the time. And I think that's a good like representation of, soldiers that go through so much trauma overseas, and then they come back, and that's why they're depressed. Cause like, it's not enough. They're just like, they're totally dead inside. And Jeremy Renner's character did not give a shit about his personal safety. I mean, that's why he was EOD, and he would take off his suit. Like there's one scene where Jeremy Renner like goes out to defuse a bomb, and he like takes his radio off because Sergeant Sanborn, Anthony Mackie's character, is like yelling at him. He's like, "We need to get out of here! Like, there's too many people watching." He's like, "We need to get," and he just like takes his radio off and throws it. And he's like, "I don't want to listen to him anymore." And like, and then after he finally defuses the bomb, which is like a big bomb, he's a sergeant first class, Jeremy Renner, who's like 2 ranks above Anthony Mackie, and Anthony Mackie just comes up to him and just
punches him in the face, and he's like, "Don't ever take your radio off again." And you're like, that would never happen. Like, you wouldn't punch your superior and like everything be okay. But Jeremy Renner didn't give a shit. But yeah, I think Hurt Locker did a really good job of like the camaraderie, like you said, and just a representation of the GWOT. Because I mean, back then, what was our biggest threat? IEDs. Like IEDs killed more people than any direct fire or small precision fires, small arms fires on our soldiers. It was all IEDs killing everybody.
That was when we first invaded Iraq. I remember when it happened initially, and there was the kind of like the faux pas, I guess you could say. There was it was like a couple weeks in. And, then George Bush lands on the carrier and he's got, mission accomplished behind him. And it was that was just the beginning.
Yeah, that was yeah. If you only knew.
Yeah. And so basically it became a cat and mouse game after that. And IEDs were the modus operandi for what could be, I guess, became the insurgency.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, I think we've done this movie enough justice. You ready to move on to the next one?
Yeah, man.
All right, what do you got? Since I picked that one, what do you have?
Well, let's see. What do we... You know what? One thing I like we haven't talked about much that we can talk about. It's not exactly a war movie, but it's Lord of War starring Nicolas Cage.
Nick
Came out
Cage.
in 2005. It's more of a commentary on arms dealing.
Sure.
And he's an arms dealer. He's kind of a small time arms dealer that ends up working his way up, and he ends up, he sells to anybody. Like I think that's kind of one of the themes is, he has no scruples. He has no qualms about selling to, African warlords or whomever. But it's more about like the overall, like the propagation of weapons throughout the world and the effects of that. And, cause he meets another arms dealer who is like, I guess maybe a government representative,
Interpol agent.
Yeah. Well, no, not the Interpol agent. That's the guy who's after him the whole movie. That's freaking Ethan Hawke. But he meets another guy at it's like almost like an arms convention. Where they're like looking at Stinger missiles and all this stuff, and the guy doesn't like him because he's like, you will sell to anybody, and I guess Nicolas Cage, I think I remember him saying something, to the effect of like, well, you're no better than I am, you just have a government backing you, It's like it's all the same stuff, you're going to sell to the Israelis who are going to attack these people, I'm going to sell to these people who are going to attack the Israelis, So anyway, did you ever end up seeing this one, Lord of War?
I actually have not. I've seen it. Actually, I think I started it and just don't remember anything about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate it because it's I appreciate that it's anything that kind of show maybe like the other side, like the downside. Like nobody likes war. But I think that for me personally, I understand that it will always be a part of us because it's a part of human nature. Conflict is a part of human nature.
Yeah, it's ingrained.
And sometimes, and I am proud to be an American, and I get happy. I'm happy when positive portrayals of the American military are seen in pop culture. I also understand that there's another side of it. That not all soldiers are great, or sometimes the army makes mistakes, or we maneuver in bad places and stuff, or politics gets in the way. So Lord of War is kind of in that spectrum of there's the devastation that is caused by just the propagation of these weapons that just get out there, and how devastating they can be when people whomever gets their hands on them. So that's a solid choice for the list for me. It's in the era of the GWOT, though maybe it doesn't necessarily have any much to do with it, other than he's kind of in the background supplying the weapons for anybody.
Yeah, I mean that's totally Lord of War reminds me of War Dogs with Jonah Hill and.
Oh, okay. Now that one. Did you see that one? That one I did not.
I have seen that one. It's good.
Okay.
I think it's good. It's the same. It's the same concept, arms dealing, right, during the global war on terrorism. And at that point, it was just you think that the military has this like perfected system of logistics to get their weapons and ammunition like overseas and into it. But little do you know that like they're taking it from anybody that they can. Like all these companies are fighting after contracts to like get with the DoD essentially. And like War Dogs is about, you know, a guy, and he's like kind of, what is he, like a mattress? There's either a masseuse. He's just like some low level job, right? he's just like a mattress salesman or something, or he's like a masseuse. I don't know. Nothing wrong with masseuses. No, not at all. But and then he meets an old friend, and he's in the arms dealing, and he like recruits him, and he's like, let's do it. And then they like, you know, just start growing and growing and growing, selling ammunition and weapons and whatnot. And then they land a DoD contract, so they have to like go to, I think it's either Afghanistan and Iraq, and like deliver this ammunition to a military base, but they have to do it themselves, and they have to like drive across this really dangerous plot of land that's like totally Al-Qaeda owned. It's either like Taliban or Al-Qaeda owned, and they like hire a guy to like drive them across and take all the ammunition with them, and like they're being chased by like all these terrorists and stuff, and finally get to the base, and they like deliver the ammo, and they're like, you came from where? Like by yourself. It's a little bit of a comedy, but I think it's a good movie. Just if we're talking about like Lord of War from like a different perspective or perception of the GWOT, I think War Dogs is pretty entertaining. Plus Jonah Hill does a really good job, I think so.
Both those guys, Miles Teller and Jonah Hill.
Yeah, Miles Teller, that's the other one. Yeah, they're
Miles
both
Teller,
huge. They're huge names in pop culture.
Yeah, they've been around for sure.
Yeah. Let's talk about 12 Strong, man.
Yeah, we'll talk about 12 Strong a little bit, man. This is we talked about this a little bit before, but my connection to it is obviously it's the invasion of Afghanistan by special forces. It's Green Berets that end up going in there, and it's kind of an encapsulation of what we did. Obviously, there were a lot. I think there were a few more teams than just one team, and there was probably a few CIA agents that went with them with a bunch of cash. But it's the Northern Alliance. It's the invasion of Afghanistan, and how kind of like special forces. It really showcased what special forces is capable of, because
their main mission set, absolutely.
Yeah, force multipliers, guerrilla warfare, foreign internal defense, that kind of stuff, building relationships, and they ended up, you know, through air power and then the power of the Northern Alliance, which was all these tribes that we kind of like said, hey, we'll free you from the Taliban, we'll give you lots of money. And they're like, okay, we'll see how long this lasts. Basically took down the Taliban in about, as I recall, it was about 3 months. Like they had a year to accomplish their mission. Yeah, and it was about 3 months, which was in and of itself a pretty phenomenal accomplishment.
No, absolutely. And I mean, they were chasing Winter, right? Or Winter was chasing them. So they're like, these mountains are going to be unnavigatable if winter comes, and the only way to do it now is on horseback. So like that was one thing that they got to do was, you know, ride around with the Northern Alliance sections, I will say, because like everyone, I think the best part about that movie is that I mean, it's cool, like special forces. Don't get me wrong, special forces is cool, but I think the best part about that movie is it shed light on how like nuts Afghanistan was just on its own. Like the Northern Alliance was supposed to be their, like, you know, their peacekeepers essentially. They were the ones that were fighting, I believe, just the entire time that Afghanistan's been there, essentially, but it was composed of different sections of the Northern Alliance. So, like, you know, I don't even know the term to think of it, but just imagine different, you know, warlords within the Northern Alliance. It's almost like squads.
Factions? Okay.
Yeah, something like factions. I would say factions is good, but they were all fighting each other as well. So it's like they were unified, but they all hated each other, which was, I found that so ironic. It's like they met with that one general, and they're like, you know, we can use your other guy, the other general in the north, to, like, you know, launch a strategic mission. And he's like, I'm not going to work with that guy. Absolutely fucking not. And and it's just like, but we all have like one goal, which is, you know, to kill the Taliban, and you don't want to do that. And he's like, nope, not with that guy. And it's just like, okay, this is nuts. Like, you guys are all on the same team here, right? And they were just like, yeah, refuse to work with that guy because, like, he wants all the glory and I want the glory myself. And it was just like, man, Afghanistan was such a shit show. Even before when we showed up, it was, I can't say that, like, we were, like, the angels coming out of the sky and, like, saving everybody. But we had the assets completely to assist them in whatever they need. I mean, that was the whole thing, is like, we have air asset, and that was in 12 strong, that they were like, we want you to bomb. Like, we don't have bombs. Like, we have horses and stuff, but we want you to, like, call in, airstrikes. And that was the strategic advantage that Special Forces gave to the Northern Alliance factions. But yeah, I think that was the best part of that movie, was just like, man, this is a shit show. Like, who's fighting who? I mean, that was what it was like in Syria when I went. I didn't even know who the enemy was. Like, obviously, we were fighting, like, ISIS was, like, the main bad guys. But then you had, like, al-Assad, and then you had, like, the Russians, and then you had, like, the SDF there fighting other people. And then it was just like, I was just like, who? I was like, who is bad and who is not? I don't know. It was so weird because, like, the SDF would wear patches with the president that was in jail that was, like, corrupt, and it was just like, what is going on? Like, I don't even, like, I could not wrap my head around it. It was just like, the Middle East is just like a war. It's just, like, constantly at war with themselves. It's not easy to understand, too. Like, America, World War II. Oh, the Germans, they're bad. Okay, let's go. We're going to help out. We're going to, band with everybody else. Cool, great. You go to Middle East, you're like, you're bad? No, wait, I thought he was bad. Wait, we're bad now? Now we're the bad? Like, everyone's bad, but we're good, right? It's like, it's so hard to understand.
It's so tribal, man.
It's so, that's the word, tribes. Yeah, tribes. The tribes of the Northern Alliance would not work with each other, even though they're unified. Yeah, there we go, tribes. But yeah, crazy, dude. 12 Strong actually did like it. I thought it was good.
I liked it too. Yeah, I did. My story is that I got to audition for that.
Yeah, I know. Super cool. Super cool. Let's see.
Man, it's not on the list, but there's one thing that we could talk about real quickly. I don't know if you've seen it, but it is one of the initiations of the GWOT. But have you ever seen United 93?
It's important to properly dispose of unwanted medication or sharps. MedProject offers free and convenient disposal options near you. To learn more, call 844-MED-PROJECT or visit medproject.org.
No, I remember you telling me about it, though. What's that?
It's basically, it's a film from 2006, and it's about the plane that went down on 9/11 in Pennsylvania, the one where the passengers fought back and stormed the cabin, and the guy ended up just ramming it into the ground.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, Paul Greengrass, who I think directed the first Bourne movie, directed this one.
Interesting, because, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. But 9/11, there was multiple planes, right? So you had, like, the ones that struck the towers. You had one that struck the Pentagon, and then one that landed, in a field.
Yeah, exactly.
So this movie's about the one that landed in the field.
Yeah, and it's pretty cool because they got some of the, they call it a docudrama thriller film because they got some of the original, like, I think it was the flight or the ground crew, like the course, that were in communication and the air traffic controllers. I think they actually got some of those people that were not actors to come back and actually play themselves, and what they were trying to do and how they were trying to communicate and track the plane and kind of their actions on the ground while everything was going on up top. And it's pretty touching, man. It's pretty heavy duty because I don't know if you've heard any of the audio recordings of people calling from their cell phones and leaving messages from their families.
It's ridiculous.
Like, hey, I love you. And
it's very touching. It's very heartbreaking. I mean, I was so curious of how they're even able to make phone calls. Because when I fly, I turn off my airplane mode and I don't get jack shit.
This is in 2001. I don't know. I forget what the regulations were. Maybe they didn't have to have them on, or maybe they just ignored it because they're like, I'm going to die, so I'm going to make a phone call anyway.
Which is weird. When you're flying that high, it's like you don't even have service. I was like, what is going on? I was trying to figure out, like, how are they even able to make those calls? If anybody has any information on that, that would be a super cool. That would be a super cool read for us. So send it our way. Yeah, PCFM podcast at gmail.com. Let us know. But yeah, man, that's one of the touchiest things that I think that the United States had happened to them since Pearl Harbor. And yeah, it's like you don't fuck with us at home. Like you can like mess with us overseas and whatnot, like you've been doing. But the second you touch like any U.S. soil, it's game on.
Well, it was certainly like kind of one of those unprecedented things that really, I think, probably one of the reasons why we characterized it as the global war on terror is we realized that it was like it's a decentralized enemy, right? It was more of an ideology or a mindset that certain people around the world shared towards America or the quote unquote the West, and it was ideologically driven. And so, like even in the movie, in the very beginning, the movie starts in the hotel rooms of the terrorists, and they're like ritualistically shaving themselves and like praying and like getting ready for the whole thing that they're going to do for that day. You know, like it was straight up like Islamic terror. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
no, absolutely.
And so I think that's it was just I think that and that's why you were saying before, like it's tough because it's never going to end because there's always going to be some yahoos out there that are going to believe something.
Yeah, that's what I said. This is why we can't have nice things, dude.
Yeah, we could totally do this and go and kill people and like either it's worth whatever cause we believe in, or we're going to go to heaven because of it, or whatever.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, that is the exact reasoning for my comment in the beginning that like there will always be a global war on terror, or at least there will always be people committed to performing terroristic actions because hell, people suck, dude. Like everybody wants to be right. Everybody wants to think, the way they do, and it'll always be around. But I think I got to check out that. What did you said? It was United 93.
United 93. That was the name of the flight that crashed in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And,
I know these aren't. I just want to move on real quick, but I know these aren't like quote unquote pop culture pieces. And we don't talk about documentaries enough. Yeah. But I think some of the best documentaries that have came out are like Restrepo, which is if you want to get like a taste of what like combat was like in some of the deadliest parts of Afghanistan. Restrepo is a great one. It basically shows the realities of the guys of 2nd Platoon, BICO, 173rd Airborne Brigade out of Italy, and they're basically in the Korangal Valley at a OP there, and they named the OP after Juan Doc Restrepo. And yeah, it's nuts. These guys are getting like nailed every single day. And that's like the true realities. Another documentary that I actually recently watched, which was phenomenal for like seeing combat. Like you don't see combat like they usually like you got guys wearing GoPros and stuff, but there's these combat journalists that joined some dudes. I forgot what unit it was. Was it the 101st? I think it was 101st in Afghanistan as well, and it's called The Hornet's Nest. Have you heard of that one?
No, I haven't even heard of this one.
Oh, that one is hardcore. Yeah, The Hornet's Nest is cool. It like basically the father and son. The father has been like following wars since he was, since it was pretty young. That's been like his job, and his son wants to come with him on this one. So they kind of like double team it as war journalists, and they attach to the 101st, I believe. And they just like the shit they catch on camera is like, you literally hear like bullets zipping over their heads because they're like in it, being like ambushed and attacked and everything. There's like one part of the documentary where they're on like a mounted patrol or something, and it's like on this mountain road, and like they start getting ambushed, and everybody dismounts and like runs down the side of the mountain, and they're like stuck on the side, and you can literally hear like rounds clacking off, and you even see like one like landing near him, like and he's like, his son is like above him, and he's like running to his kid, and he's like, "Are you okay?" And it's crazy. And then so they like halfway through they switch over to a Marine platoon. And like they're trying to basically just what were they doing again? They're obviously just like patrolling around and trying to hit different villages and whatnot, trying to find like IED facilitators and then basically looking for bad guys. And they follow those Marines and they get in like a 13-hour firefight throughout the night and into the next day. And it's like, dude, the Hornet's Nest. That's a crazy other documentary that I recommend.
I gotta check this out. Oh, it's on Prime Video.
Yeah, it's on Prime Video.
It's watching the trailer right now.
Yeah, check it out. It's fucking gnarly. Yeah, but I mean, not really the most pop culture pieces, but I think if you want like an idea of how it was over there, of like the combat in Afghanistan, those are both great pieces to watch.
There's one on here. I'm not sure if it's the one that I saw, but it's called Jim, about James Foley. And he said he was killed by ISIS. And I think this is the one where they uploaded the video.
Oh, like a beheading video?
Yeah, the beheading video. And this is one of the ones when I went through SEER school. Kind of one of the ways that they kind of drove home the point of like what it means to be in an unconventional capture situation, you know, as with like ISIS and one of those guys, is they showed us a bunch of these videos, like, because there's a couple of videos, some they recovered, some were you know they've gotten from the internet, that have been, but yeah, James Foley was the one, and you ain't seen nothing till you've seen a human being get their head sliced off. Like, yeah,
it's almost numbing. It's like you get this pit in your stomach.
You can't. It's all when you're watching it. It's this. There's this sickening feeling that I got of it doesn't seem real, but you know deep down inside it is real.
I mean, there's so much shit nowadays on TV of like, you know, action movies where dudes get like their heads chopped off and whatnot.
Films and whatnot.
Horror films and slashers and all that, and you like see all this shit, but there's a big difference. And like I love horror movies and I love slashers and whatnot, and I can look at some sick shit. But like, I mean, if I'm scrolling on Facebook and somehow come across like a cartel like execution video, and it's like, dude, it's so crazy how like this is like shit. Like it's actually happening. And like, it's nuts. I mean, you know what I watched the other day, or started watching and turned off because Sydney was like, turn that shit off, was the Rambo remake. The original, the one where he's old and he has to go rescue like the,
down in Mexico.
No. Before that, it's just called Rambo.
He's in Burma.
Yeah, he's in Burma. And like the beginning scene of when they're like showing the atrocities that the Burmese like military's doing and like against their people and shit.
Yeah.
That's all like real footage. And you're like, oh my God. It's like you see it on like some movies like recreate it, but you can't get the same feeling of seeing like actual stuff like that. It's like it makes you angry and it makes you sick to your stomach.
Yeah, man. I think they're, you know, you don't want to be like a ghoul about it, but I'm not going to say everybody needs to, but we live in such, as bad as things are, we live in such a protected society.
Oh yeah, we're so lucky.
It's hard for people to believe that real evil, like I believe in true evil, not just like misguided ideologies or, you know, good people with bad intentions or whatever. I don't think we're basically good as a human species, but you know, true evil. Like sometimes it's important to see that stuff, man.
It is, because I mean,
you gotta believe that there's people and maybe a lot of people out there that one would actually do this kind of thing, and two that are kind of okay with it.
Yeah, no, it's fucking gnarly. And like that's why I said earlier with like people look at the world through rose-colored sunglasses and they're like, that could never happen here. And it's just because it's not that it could never happen here, it's just you're lucky it's not happening here because of all the things that we have in place that you don't know about or you're totally against and just don't realize what's happening. Like the border situation, like what's going on over there with the cartels. Like in the National Guard, I had, you know, LAPD buddies that would like show us would show us like basically the briefs they would get from BP about like all the cartel like murders and everything. And it's absurdly high. Like, you would never believe that this shit was happening, like, right here, like, in San Diego border. Like, you would never, like, thousands and thousands of murders from cartel, like, in the streets, executions. Like, it's gnarly. And it's just, like, we put in so much effort to make sure it doesn't happen here. And, you know, some stuff happens, like our shootings and whatnot, but like it could be 10 times worse without without all the checks that we have in place.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
That's
it's crazy.
Important.
But yeah,
Well,
let's switch it up on a lighter note. You want to talk about video games, dude?
Yeah, we got a few on here, and I think the one that encapsulates GWOT the best, because I think they pull from the headlines, is the Call of Duty Modern Warfare remake, the 2019 Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2019. They kind of do like a reboot with Price and the team. It's kind of pre-Task Force 141, and they got the next one coming out soon. But I like this one because you can tell they have pulled from the headlines a couple of the missions. I know the one that we've done on Gameology, where you're at the embassy and then you're at the annex. That's like like Benghazi. That's like a Benghazi copy and paste.
Yeah, totally, 100%.
And it kind of gets in the kind of the good and the bad, like our allies and our enemies in the Middle East, and then also, I guess maybe for whatever reason, like the Russians ultimately are the bad guys, which I guess was kind of timely anyway, you know.
Yeah.
But it keeps it very much in the kind of the modern day conflict and the modern day formation of kind of who the protagonists, who the antagonists are, or where the lines stand with a lot of things.
Yeah.
And with the character of the sister and the brother, I forget her name, but I just played it on stream. Like that when they're kids, it goes back to like when like the Russians were around and causing havoc for them, and why they ended up being kind of freedom fighters for, Durka Middle Eastern stand, their fake country that they're from. But the Call of Duty Modern Warfare series is really good, and I gotta say that there's a place for the kind of action military based video games, because it's nice to kind of bring it down to the ground level and say, look, this is war, and it's not like a fun kind of thing or whatever. But then I think there's also there's a place for the kind of, I don't know, the more exciting aspects of gunfighting and warfare and things like that Call of Duty Modern Warfare totally gets to a T.
Yeah, it's pure entertainment, dude. It's pure action and entertainment. And I think it's so ironic that like even, soldiers deployed in a combat zone will relax by playing Call of Duty. Like
that's so funny, man. I do a little bit of that,
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, we like in Korea and in Syria, we were playing video games like shooters all the time, and that was like during our downtime. Yeah. Like, I don't know. I think the argument that like, these violent video games create violent people, I think it's so false. Because,
me too.
Yeah, just because it's like, dude, it's relaxing. It's like you can understand, like this is 100% a video game. Like this is not reality. It's like you play Dungeons and Dragons and you don't expect to like walk around with like a claymore and like asking fair maidens for their bosom and shit. It's like it's fake. Like you realize there's a separation between reality and entertainment, and I think that's what sells it so well. Is because obviously, there's some curiosity ingrained in, human genome that like makes you curious about war. But then you obviously have like your state of mind that wants you to be safe and to not put you in harm's way. That's why you don't enlist, but you play all these video games because you're still curious. And, I think humans are biologically completely programmed to be violent. Like that is one of our core survival aspects. So I think that's why we get so much entertainment out of like Call of Duty, regardless of, where we see the war, like regardless of how we feel about conflicts and whatnot. Like everybody likes to, play a violent video game because it at the end of the day, it's fun as hell.
Yeah. 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 And if you're really affected, if you're truly affected by something like that, that's not the only thing that's wrong with you.
Yeah, no, you got
there's other stuff wrong with you that makes you susceptible. A normal person isn't going to be like playing one of these games and then be like, oh, maybe I could do it in real life.
Yeah, be like, I wonder what it feels like to shoot that guy in the head for real. Yeah, no, and if you feel like that, go talk to somebody. Or go enlist because we need people like you.
That's right. There's a place for everybody.
There's a place for everybody, right? But cool, man. You got any alibis? What else in the video game world? I mean, we've talked about Spec Ops: The Line.
We have, but the only one I'll mention, and only briefly because it's at the time of this recording, it's not out yet. But 6 Days in Fallujah, I like that because they have done a lot of lot of the homework. They've done a lot of interviews with both the civilians in the village at the time and then the soldiers who went in. But it's about the Battle of Fallujah, the second Battle of Fallujah, from the 3rd Battalion, 1st Marines. And this was like, I think maybe, I'm not really sure if we had like CQB or house-to-house style combat.
It was invented there.
It was invented there. Yeah, we learned a lot of lessons from those guys. And they paid the price.
Yeah, no, Fallujah was one of those things that, like, we had the Marines went in with full-size 16-inch M16s trying to do like room clearing. Like, we learned so much from that conflict. But I have such a deep respect for those dudes because, I mean, nowadays everyone's just like, oh, my M4 is not like a shorty, so I can't do CQB with it, man. Or like they all want like the fancy schmancy gear and shit. But those dudes, they went in and did it with nothing. Like they were successful and they were just hard men that committed violence against bad people. Like that was the bottom line. And you can tell I'm getting jazzed up talking about it. But like, dude, like those dudes were the real fucking deal. Like they didn't give a shit about equipment. Like they were still wearing, PASGAT helmets and like old ACHs and 3-colored desert with a flak jacket on and a full-size M16 going door to door, like killing enemies. Like it's just, those dudes are I have so much respect for Fallujah veterans because shit, man, that was it.
Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, 6 Days in Fallujah isn't out yet. I thought it was out.
No, I think it's coming out at the time of this recording. It's coming out in a couple months, I think in December of this year. But it could be pushed back again. They pushed it back. I think there was some controversy where the original company that was going to make it dropped it, and then another company picked it up and started making it.
Didn't they give you the beta? Didn't they let you play the beta?
No, they gave me some footage. I got a hold of them, and I could try getting a hold of them again, but I said, hey, I'm a streamer, and they gave me some extra footage. I made a YouTube video about it. You can see it, My Happy Self on YouTube, but it's not beta or anything like that. But I would love to play it pre-release. That'd be awesome.
Oh yeah, I mean it's one of those games that has a high anticipation for coming out. I keep hearing about it, but I totally thought it was out. But I'm just a terrible gamer, I guess. Right, but hey, man, those are awesome. The GWOT, I think, is going to be like the new World War II in 20 years, and all, like you said, like all the stories are going to be coming out, and we can only hope that they portray military in a positive way. Because I mean, we went in with positive intentions, at least at the ground level. So, but yeah, we got a fan question. Yeah. Fan question coming to us from Happy to Meet You. Oh, we're happy to meet you too. And this is from Instagram. And they would like to know, what is your favorite what's your favorite memory from your time serving? This is a very hard question.
Because there's a lot of good memories. I have a lot of good memories from my time.
A lot of good memories.
I'll just say, like, off the top of my head, Halo School was great.
Yeah, whatever.
It was so much fun.
Yeah, I always love when you talk about Halo School because I didn't get to go. It's my favorite thing. Halo School, that must have been so fun, man. I'm so jealous. It's literally the greatest school you can go to, or the most fun school you can go to in the military.
Yeah, they tell you to relax and have fun because they need you to be in a good posture, good position, listen to what they're saying, because it's obviously it's dangerous because you're jumping out of an airplane. Yeah. And then they keep stacking stuff on top of you, whether it be oxygen in a group with equipment at night, and they stack all that stuff up, and you end up getting about 25 jumps. And I've never done a tandem jump, which I carry as a badge of honor.
Yeah, that's very
never
cool,
been strapped to anybody else. My first time jumping out of a plane was with an instructor.
Yeah,
after they teach you how to fly and how to fold your
Yeah, my only free fall jump is a tandem jump, and it sucked. I hated it. It's like
you're gonna get it, Cameron. I feel like in the course of your life, you're probably gonna get the chance to do it.
Oh, I will, 100%. I think I will very soon. But mine's a little bit deeper, dude. Here we go. My favorite. I think one of the memories that I always look back and I smile at was I was deployed, and it was my actual like time saving a person's life.
Wow.
Yeah, no, it's pretty deep, right? I remember because I was working out with our platoon medic at the time, and we were in the gym. And if you guys heard me talk about Dead Guy Gym before, you can go back and listen. But we were doing bench press in the gym of the med station, or basically our CCP, our casualty collection point, which was just a building that was like gutted out and had a couple rooms and had like 2 operating rooms, a gym in it, and then some like living quarters for the people that were working there. But it, by all means, it was not like a state-of-the-art medical facility. It was like dirty and just had boxes everywhere and like a table like with a litter on it. That was like the operating table. But yeah, me and our platoon medic were doing some bench press in the gym, and then we heard the bell go off. It was like bring, 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 which usually means like there's a casualty coming in. And like we go out and they're working on this casualty, and like they are like, we need to start doing chest compressions immediately because like we're losing him. They're like, we're losing him. He's on the table, and everyone's like freaking out and scrambling. So me and the medic, we like get up there and we just start doing chest compressions on him, like straight out of The Office, like Staying Alive, staying alive, and start doing chest compressions. And then they bring out that damn, I totally forgot what it's called, but the little thing that they're like clear, like, you know, the thing, the electric shock thing. Yeah. So they like start doing that. Yeah, defibrillator. And then we just keep doing chest compressions, and we're doing chest compressions for like 10 minutes straight. And then finally they hit him one more time, and like it's exhausting, like because you are straight up like you are pushing on the chest, because the chest compressions, you're manually pumping the heart to push oxygen and blood throughout the entire body. Because his heart was stopping. So once his heart stopped, we had to manually pump it. So just doing chest compressions for at least 10 minutes. And finally they hit him one more time. They were like, clear, boosh. And then we heard the beep, beep, beep. And we literally brought him back. Wow, man. And that was like such a cool moment, because that was real life right there. And then the best part about this story is right after we were done, we went back in the gym and we finished our bench press set. And
Continue to train.
So that was probably my greatest memory in the military, because that was probably the proudest that I felt, because like all my training and like literally encompassed to do exactly what I wanted to do. And yeah, I got to save a person's life. So that was probably my favorite memory from my time serving.
That's good, man. Way to steal all my Halo thunder. I really appreciate it.
Sorry. Yeah.
All right, man. Well, that's great. And now's the time. Now I get my thunder back because we have a game, and
we got a game. You're the game master, so you get to make me look terrible. That's right, build me up. I'll build myself up, and you just break me down.
You'll pay for that life-saving story, Karen.
Yeah, here we go.
All right, this game is called What Am I?
What am I?
I'm going to name a piece of pop culture. I'm going to basically name a movie or a television show, and all you have to do is tell me which war is associated with.
Well, okay. Easy enough.
Can be. Yeah. Let's do an easy one. This is not, maybe not all of them are directly like right when it's going on, but they're associated around that time. So this warm-up question is the A-Team TV series from the 80s.
Okay.
So what war is that associated with?
What war?
Yeah.
In the 80s.
Well, like I said, it's a TV series from the 80s, but it's called the A-Team.
Oh, is it? And I just have to name the war that was going on.
Yeah, the conflict.
I never watched the A-Team from the 80s, but is it Vietnam?
You are correct. It is
Vietnam.
Vietnam.
Okay. Wow. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right. I get the game.
That was easy. Yeah.
Sorry, I was staring at like a fly on my wall. I completely blinked out during the directions.
Well, let's keep going. Let's see.
Okay. Yeah. We'll play.
Pay attention now. Get that fly out of there.
Yeah, get out of here. Hey, you.
All right.
Before you die.
This one is The Patriot.
The Patriot. That was during the American Revolution.
That is correct. It was during the American Revolution, starring Mel Gibson. Yeah.
And
the evil British.
The evil Brits.
All right. Next one coming up. I don't know if you're familiar with this one. MASH.
MASH. Yeah, this is an older one.
Yeah, it's a television series. This television series actually ran for a long time.
It ran for a very long time. Like this was in the 50s, right? MASH was like started in the 50s or 60s?
No. The series came out in like the 70s, 60s or 70s. Maybe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a little more modern.
Then I'm going to say Vietnam.
That is incorrect. It is the Korean War.
Really interesting. Yeah. I wanted to say Korean, but I was like, there's not a lot of things that involve the Korean War in pop culture. But that's interesting.
Yeah.
MASH, man.
None of them positive, but
yeah.
well, some of them positive.
Some of them's Korea. Yeah, Korea 50 to 53. Interesting.
All right. The next one is The Thin Red Line.
The Thin Red Line. I've never heard of this.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. This is one of the more kind of cerebral, kind of like more poetic and thoughtful movies out there.
Thin Red Line. I'm just gonna. Is it World War II?
Good guess. It is World War II.
Oh, nice. Okay.
It's actually the Pacific Theater.
The Pacific Theater. Okay.
Yeah. There you go. Good, man. Good.
Nice.
You are,
okay.
I think you're, except for the MASH, I think you're doing pretty good. You're 3 out of 4.
Well, you can't bring me down. No way.
Next one is Devotion.
Devotion. Yeah, this is the Korean War.
That's right. You better know that.
Yeah. How many times have you told me about this?
I won't shut up about it. Yeah.
No.
All right. Good one. Good one. You're doing really well. The next one is Gallipoli.
What did you call me?
This one is Gallipoli.
Gallipoli.
Gallipoli. Yeah.
Gallipoli?
It's a place. It's a place.
Oh, it's a
I'll give you
place.
hint. It's a place. Gallipoli.
Gallipoli. I feel like this is a wild card one. And it's like some like really, really, really old war. Gallipoli. Kind of sounds like it would be like in Europe or like some really Mediterranean area. I have no idea. I'm just going to say the Crusades.
Well, it's old, but it's not that old. It's World War I.
World War One. Where is Gallipoli?
Gallipoli, Turkey.
Turkey.
Wait. Gallipoli Peninsula
Austria?
in Ottoman Turkey.
Ottoman.
Ottoman Turkey. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, yeah.
It's a land-based element of strategy intended to allow Allied ships to pass through the Dardanelles to capture Constantinople, which is now Istanbul.
Yeah, because World War II, it was like Turkey, Austria, Germany, Ottoman Empire against everybody else.
And it actually was not successful. The Gallipoli campaign cost the Allies 187,000 lives and wounded, and the Turks lost 161,000, but it proved to be the Turks' greatest victory in the war.
Wow, that's a lot of body bags.
Yep.
Okay.
So, all right, cool, man. Yeah, this one is, I don't know if you've heard of this one, but Casualties of War.
Casualties of War. I've not heard of this one. Casualties of War. It could literally be any war, too.
Stars, I'll give you a hint. It stars Michael J. Fox and Sean Penn.
Is this the Gulf War?
This is not the Gulf War. This is Vietnam.
Vietnam. Okay.
Yeah. This is one of those ones when I talk about like portraying soldiers as like rapists, murderers, and thieves. This is one of those movies.
Okay. Great. Annexed.
But all right, two more. Last two.
All right.
And then we got a bonus question.
Question. Oh, nice.
Next one, Enemy at the Gates.
Enemy at the Gates. This is during World War II.
Correct. Yeah. Russian campaign.
The Russian campaign against the Germans.
Yeah.
Deutsch.
All right. Last one. You're not going to get this one, but I just wanted to throw it in there for fun. Maybe you might get it. Taegukgi.
Taegukgi. This is probably from like the Qing Dynasty or something. Like, Taegukgi. Let's just shoot a shot here. Let's do the Korean War.
Oh, man, you are correct. It is the Korean War.
Oh, yeah! I'm peeking! Nice.
Well, we'll have to edit that out, but that was really good, man. This is a Korean film about two brothers who go through the Korean War together.
Two brothers, and they're Korean. It's about two brothers.
But it's actually really good because the kind of at the heart of the story is these two brothers, and then it's about it. Like one of them eventually ends up going and fighting for the Koreans, and they fight against each other. So it's kind of about how Korea got split in two, and families were separated. So
okay,
all right, good one. That was a good guess. I'm gonna give you extra points for that
man.
one.
Very cool.
All right, last one, bonus question. Terminator.
The original Terminator? Is this an actual war? I mean, obviously, it came out in the 80s. But it's
you're overthinking it.
I'm overthinking it. Okay. I can't stop overthinking it. I don't even know how to answer this because it's just like, okay, what war is featured in the movie?
It's not. I'm gonna give it to you. It's a trick question. It's
there's no war. It's a future war. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't. Yeah, it's what 2020. It's like 2024, 2025.
Yeah, it's one of those dates that's about to come up.
Yeah,
and we're like, oh, we've already passed it.
Yeah, that's what I was overthinking. I was like, what? It's a future war, but I don't know what to call that. It's just like the war against Skynet.
The War of the Machines.
The War of the Machines.
Well, good job, man. You did really well. I'm very impressed with the Teguki answer that you had.
Thanks, dude.
I think you only got one wrong.
Only
actually.
one wrong?
Maybe
two. I think I got
two.
Wrong. I got two.
Casualties of War and MASH. Yeah.
MASH. Nice. Okay, dude. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. It was good. Good. Like I said, good thing I brushed up on my American war history the other day, so that definitely helped me out. But folks, thank you so much for spending this hour with us on the Pop Culture Field Manual podcast. We hope you enjoyed this episode about the GWOT. Check out some of those documentaries we were talking about if you feel like learning a little bit about what it was really like for those soldiers going through Afghanistan at that time. If you want to check out our Patreon, feel free to do it. We do awesome content, exclusive content through there. You'll get early access to the podcast, as well as if you subscribe to our top tier, the Lifer tier. Once a month, Izzy and I do a live stream movie where you can come out and hang out and talk to us in real time. It's super fun. If you want to send us a message, check out the Pop Culture Field Manual podcast on Instagram, PCFM Podcast on Instagram, or send us an email at pcfmpodcast@gmail.com. If you want to support my streetwear brand, kickgoutapparel.com, coming out with some cool hoodies soon. So for wintertime, get all warm and fuzzy and comfy in a Kick God casual hoodie. Izzy, what do you got?
Hitty. If you want to hitty me up, you can hitty me up on twitch.tv/myhappyself.
All right. Cue music.
No,
did I cut you off there?
No, it's okay. You can cue music.
Okay. Cue music.